I'm here because April 5th, 2022, my daughter was found dead in a drug house. The tox report came back that there were 3 different synthetic fentanyl drugs found in her system amongst a slew of other drugs. And she apparently died instantly when this was injected. She was only 30 years old, and she had a son. I'm still coming out of my fog as a grieving mom. I'm still trying to make sense that I have to live without her. And she was my only child. So my motherhood purpose was taken from me too. And I chose to be here today because I believe her spirits tell me, Mom, this is your purpose now. You can't save me, but you can save somebody else. And that's why I'm here. She was, to me, a lost soul most of her life. When she was 8, her father died of a massive heart attack in front of her, and she was alone with him. And I don't think that child ever processed that. And as she became a teenager, the friends group kind of changed, and I started noticing like marijuana. Back then it was called triple C's. These kids would go buy Corsedin in bulk amounts and get, I don't know what they did, but they got high off of that. And it eventually, by the time she was probably a senior in high school, it progressed to snorting heroin, which eventually led to shooting up heroin. In that time span from her late teens until she died, there were times there was some sobriety. She had a baby girl, Kira, and she died when she was 10 days old, which is probably another, the fact that my child never really probably got over finding her father dead, and then she gets pregnant and loses her baby at 10 days old. This child probably had these demons. I look back now, retrospect is a great thing. She never was able to process, that was pain, and a lot of pain. And she was engaged, and the year before she died, her fiance died of fentanyl overdose. Then it was a freight train. It was an absolute, that child went from being a mother to living on the streets, drug dens. I, by that time, had taken my grandson and had legal custody of him because she wasn't, I don't see that she had it in her to come back from any of those things at that point. And her fiance, Luke, was a twin, an identical twin, and his twin, Pat, committed suicide the year before Luke died from fentanyl overdose. So my daughter had all these hurtful, really difficult things to process, but she couldn't do it. So drugs were her escape. But the drugs absolutely hijacked her. They hijacked her brain, and who she was when she died was the shell of the girl she was. I know she didn't want to be a drug addict. Nobody wants to be. I also know that she did things that she would have never done, if it weren't for the drug. That drug drove her to do anything and everything to get it. And her son no longer was that any priority in her life. Her priority really was, I can't deal with what has happened in my life, and I'm going to stay as gone in my head as possible. But when there were the sober times, we had so much love together. We always hugged and kissed, and we'd lay in bed and snuggle and watch a movie together in her 20s. When she had her second baby, my grandson now, those were the precious times, because she was absolutely sober for probably the first year of his life. And she loved him, and I saw the mother in her, and I thought, you know what, she's got this now. She's got a purpose. She has a reason to stay clean. But after Pat committed suicide and Luke died of an overdose, that was it. What I do know about her, take the drugs out of the picture, that child was so beautiful. Her heart and soul just radiated love. She was so, and her smile and infectious laugh. But I spent the first year, before I had the vigil, her candlelight vigil, a year after her passing, I didn't get out of bed. It took everything I had days to even just brush my teeth. I had to process when something this tragic happens. You have got to find meaning and purpose to make it right in your mind. My daughter dying means my purpose now is to save someone else from going down the road she did. It's not, I am very matter of fact about it now because I've had time to process it. I think grief is a lifelong thing. I have days that I was in tears this morning because I found a video that I didn't even know I had. I don't know if in retrospect I could say that, what could I have done differently? That drug is a demon. And as a parent, you can't change that demonic force that takes and hijacks their brains. But what I can do is make a difference today. It's not going to bring my daughter back, but her spirit is right here in this room saying, we got to help some people so they don't turn out like me. Now, this little boy's growing up knowing he's going to have to learn. His mom and dad died from drug overdose. And there is stigma behind it. But let me tell you what, from the get-go, when I came out of that fog and said, I have to do something about fentanyl awareness, and I planned this event in a North Park, where I'm from, in Pittsburgh. When I came out of that fog, I found my purpose. And I found myself being blatantly honest from the get-go. In fact, I posted something in the lines of, that I'm having this upcoming event. My daughter passed away from fentanyl-laced heroin. And I would say there are people that'll go and have said, she was a drug addict, so what? Or there were negative things that I heard. She bought the drugs, she did this, she did. So I flat out, stood up and like, what, my daughter died. I don't care how she died. She was a human being. She was a mother. She was my daughter. She was a grandchild, a cousin, a niece. Unfortunately, this drug took her, but it didn't take who she truly was in her heart. It didn't take that. I always knew who she was. And I'm sad that that person wasn't known by everyone. She was so kind. She loved animals. She was a girly girl with makeup and doing her hair and pretty clothes. And eventually you could see that light starting to dim where her hair wasn't washed. She had old makeup on. She hadn't brushed her teeth. She was losing herself and eventually lost her life. My husband and I are snowbirds, and we have a home in Venice, and every year we come down after Christmas. And I had her son with me because I took him. And I didn't know where she was at that point. In fact, at one point, a friend of hers put a missing persons report up because she had no phone, no way of getting a hold of her, and I was getting my grandson ready for preschool. And the phone number was 7:30, 5 in the morning. And it was the girl who she had been staying with in a very shady place. It's a well-known drug area. And I saw the number and I wouldn't answer it because I didn't like the girl. And I'm like, why is she calling me? And then she texted 911 to me. And I answered the phone. She goes, I don't know how to tell you this, but Brianna, we found Brianna dead. My grandson is sitting at the table eating his breakfast. My husband's in the bedroom, and I let out this guttural sound that I still hear. And ran in. I throw the phone at my husband, and I said, she's dead. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, she's dead. And I had to get myself together, and this little boy has already lost his dad, and I have to tell him now he doesn't have his mother anymore, and he's in the process of trying to understand why I'm living with grandma anyway when my mommy's out there somewhere. So I waited. We immediately booked a flight home. But in the interim, there were some shady things. And I've been told now, and that she was murdered. And I have messages from somebody that named names and I wanted to wait till I got home to tell my grandson because I wanted to do it with our minister. Because he was only 5. 4, he lost his dad. 3, he lost his uncle. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life is tell my little boy that mommy's not coming. Oh my God. So this girl that called to tell me, I knew she was lying, and she wouldn't let she told, when the police called, they said that they couldn't The girl that called me said she wasn't sure who that was. So I had to identify my daughter's body by a tattoo pictured from the coroner's office that was texted to me here in Florida. I'm like, yeah, that's my daughter. Because we got that tattoo together. I got one and it says daughter. She got one that says mother. That's how I found out. Aside from losing my child and looking at my grandson, I can't tell you what was harder. Losing her or telling him that he's not going to have his mom anymore. I don't know what was harder. You know, this drug doesn't just affect one person, the person doing it. Everybody is affected in the long run. How do you know that your bus driver, your kid's bus driver, isn't shooting up? How do you know if your doctor didn't snort a little heroin before he's doing surgery? This drug is the devil. And it's taken my daughter, but I almost let it destroy me. But somehow I find strength to reach in, and I know it's our spirit saying I got to do something about making purpose out of this. And this is my purpose in life now. This is my absolute purpose.
Was there any kind of investigation?
No. You know, she was a nothing to them. She was just another junkie that overdosed. No, they didn't. No, there wasn't even any compassion when I spoke with the police. There's going to be somebody's going to answer to it, either to God or in this world. Somebody's going to answer to that. I know she was purposefully injected with these people meant to do what they did. They knew what they did. They left her there and played this ruse that they were going to check on her. They did a welfare check on her and found her dead. That's not what happened. And I know that. But the police don't even have the resources to care enough. She's just another statistic to them. But she's everything to me. So, looking for purpose in the pain, I will find a way to make peace with that, either through the justice system or God will take care of that. She didn't deserve that. Nobody does. And she never had the chance to turn herself around. I know what she had in her heart, and I know what she was capable of. And if only I had a little bit more time, maybe she had a little bit more time with her son, maybe something would have woke up inside her. Maybe not, because that drug is just, it's too powerful. And the only way I can get out of bed and take a shower and brush my teeth and actually eat something is to know that somewhere somebody's gonna hear my words, see my daughter's picture, and they're not gonna make the wrong decision by saying, I'm just gonna try this, or let's just do this for fun, or It's in marijuana now. It's in every street drug. There is no safe space for kids to party like you think you can. If one child, one life is saved by me making bracelets, having conversations, reaching out to people, joining forces with other organizations. If one life is saved, then that energizes my passion even more to push me to keep going, because this is only the beginning of the fight. We've got a long way to go, but I think being so open from the get-go, I'm easily approachable now to people, because I didn't hide behind the fact that it's a hush-hush thing. Oh, your kid died of drug overdose. No, I bit the bullet and I looked you right in the eye and said, this is what happened with my child. I'm not ashamed. I've loved her. She was a loving person, and her addiction didn't define her. It didn't define her life, because there were other parts of her life. It did take her life ultimately. And it'll take every kid out there that doesn't heed the warnings about fentanyl awareness. Everybody wants, a lot of people with all good intent start up these charities. But my thought was, join forces with a charity and grow that. I could do a 501c, Brianna's journey or whatever. But that's not gonna reach the amount of people we need to reach. So I just started reaching out, and somehow Greg and I ended up talking. But he's not the only one, the only, organization that I've worked with. And I was involved with our Senator Casey, who is the Senator of Pennsylvania. We recently, fortunately, celebrated the Fentanyl Act has passed through the Senate, and I've been cheering that man on, and Senator Casey said he was going to do it, and he did it. And I'm proud to say I was a part of that process. And that all came because my daughter's spirit is driving me to stand in front of all these people and the senator and say the truth. It makes me stronger the more I talk about it. And Senator Casey, what I love, that man has been phenomenal. I'm so happy that this act has gone through, because that is gonna use the drug cartel money that is confiscated, and we're gonna start getting more National Guard on the borders. That money's going back to victims of this wicked drug. When Senator Casey, what affected me the last time, because this was the second time I spoke at on behalf of fentanyl, I held up the same picture of my daughter. And Senator Casey, it's at the podium, and he's sitting in the front seat in the middle, right in front of me. And it hit me. I'm never gonna have another picture. This is it. I'm showing you the same picture I showed you in October. There's never gonna be a new memory. And I don't even know how I made it through that speech. I really haven't. I can't even watch it, because all I did was cry. I don't even know if I made sense. But I looked at Senator Casey at one point, and he's just got his head down praying for me. all of this and every breath I take about this is to bring meaning to my daughter's death and make somebody else not suffer.